Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kanji FPL, and honestly, last week was one of the worst weeks I've had all season. I feel like I've been getting so much positive variance, so much luck, but to finally get the negative variance come my way, like, ugh, so annoying, but I've had enough. I have too many injuries. I had a terrible week. I'm pulling out the wild card, baby. But before we get into that, I really just have to review my Game Week 7 to see what could I have done better. Oh, she's hideous. Let's get through this as quickly as possible. I got 43 points last week, and I also took a -4, so I ended on 39 points, going from 67k to 300k. It was a really, really tough week, but we got to go through this quickly. So, listen, I had Botman who picked up a 0-pointer. Of course, Newcastle go out there and pick up a clean sheet. He should have had 6 points there. I pick up a 0, and you know who's subbing in? Konza for 1 point. Thanks. I have Estupiñán with a -2. Like, this is literally like a meme defense at this point. Honestly, I don't know what is going on, but Estupiñán, he just had his worst game of the season. And I think he picked up an injury because now it's like he's out for another 3 to 4 weeks, according to De Zerbi. And that's just tough luck, man. Like, having injuries to players like Botman and Estupiñán is one of the reasons I'm pulling the trigger on the wild card, because these guys are just such great value assets, but I guess not anymore. Trippier has been so consistent ever since he's been in my team. I can't even imagine having a game week without him. He's so consistent. He creates so many chances. In fact, Trippier has the most chances created in the league. And he's a defender. Take that in. It's mad. But Areola with a 6-pointer, solid. He plays against Sheffield United. You know, FPL isn't that hard. Just target Sheffield United, Luton, Fulham, and Everton, and you'll be fine, right? And then, of course, we're moving on to the midfield. We had the game of the day, game of the weekend, and it was Spurs versus Liverpool. You know, I was looking forward to this a lot. 25 minutes in, Curtis Jones picks up the red card, and I'm like, man, like, we're going to get battered here. Like, it was a bittersweet feeling when that happened because I knew I didn't have any Liverpool players in my FPL team. Salah is, like, the biggest EO against me, and I'm like, all right, maybe it'll be tough for Mo now. And I'm kind of licking my lips from an FPL perspective where I have Madison and Son. But the thing is, they didn't really create that many big chances when, like, Liverpool were down to 10 men. I don't know if that's because Spurs struggle against low blocks or if that's because Liverpool are actually pretty solid defensively. I feel like the answer lies somewhere in the middle, but the thing that you can really take away from this week is that Son is essential. I think in FPL you really need Son. At 9.0, I could honestly see him scoring in like every single game. Like, he's just so consistent. He only needs half a chance and he'll bury it. Like, that's just how good Son he is. And at 9.0, I think once I bring him into my team, I don't think he's ever going to leave. But honestly, I am so frustrated at VAR. Honestly, I've genuinely had it with VAR. So annoying. Like, just get your stuff together, boys. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing. Salah created a really big chance for Luis Diaz. Puts it onto his right foot, shoots it across the box into the bottom left-hand corner. Great finish, but ruled out for offside, but it wasn't offside. Like, I listened to the VAR audio when they're like, man, you know, check complete. Like, the goal should stand, and then like the goal didn't stand, and like it's like this guy's like swearing, but bro, like play just went on like 30 seconds. Like, you can just tell them to delay it and just give the goal. Like, it's just a game-changing moment. I don't understand the rules like that well. I don't understand why you can't just say, hey, like, you've only played 30 seconds on from making this decision, you made the wrong decision, like, just give the goal and let's restart play. Like, nothing has really happened since that moment anyway. It's just such a dumb rule. Like, I'm just so frustrated with VAR. Like, you literally ruin the game. Like, genuinely, like, VAR is ruining football for me sometimes. It's just ridiculous. But just you just have to let things go at this point. Like, you just can't hold the baggage. I'll just never forget this moment. I'll never forgive VAR for this, but it's just like annoying. Like, I'm just trying to like let it go, breathe it in, breathe it out. You know, it's not like this is like one of the seasons where Liverpool can go on and win the title, right? Like, bruh, like, I genuinely feel like Liverpool can actually go on and win the title. Like, I feel like I might be one of the few people that can do, who feels that way, but I think with KDB out, and I feel like Salah being the second best player in the league, I just feel like there is a chance that Liverpool can go on and win the title. And for a moment like this to impact the title race, I know it's like only game week 7 and there's like the rest of the season still to play. I just find it hard to beat Man City. Like, if you look at how Liverpool and City, whenever we've been going back and forth over the past 4 to 5 years, like, there's been like 99-point seasons. Like, that's how many points you need to win the league. You cannot be dropping points to Spurs. You can't be dropping points to Brighton. You can't be dropping points to anybody. Like, that's just how good and how consistent Man City are. And so to drop points again, man, I'm just disappointed in VAR. I'm disappointed with the result. But listen, Liverpool, they stuck in there. They were really strong, but I'm just annoyed with the way that things are turning out because KDB's not there, man. If there's a chance to catch Man City, this is the season to do it, man. But it is what it is, bro. We just got to move on. So I was disappointed with the result, but I just think, Alisson just played great. Like the defense was really solid, but Matip in the last minute, you destroyed all the hard work. Unbelievable. But it is what it is, man. I'm just trying to move on from that game. Like the Liverpool Spurs game was bittersweet because I got some FPL points, but it wasn't as much as I thought it could have been, given that the red card was like 25 minutes in. But it is what it is. And moving on, Brian Mbeumo has just been really disappointing. Like over the past couple weeks, he just hasn't been getting the big chances, and he's even playing some wing back at times. He's just not picking up those central positions that he was earlier in the season. I'm sure he'll be a good asset over the course of the season. I just think that I feel like his purple patch is kind of done, and I feel like he's somebody that I think I want to move on from in FPL. And I think the same thing goes for Rashford. Like Rashford is like 25% of the player he was last year. Like last year, he honestly had a chance to be the best player in the world. Like Rashford was so consistent. Right now, I feel like he cuts in and he's not even looking to shoot sometimes. Like he's not even getting that many shots on target, to be honest with you. And I feel like there's some instruction for him to create chances for Haaland, but I just don't know if that's the best for usage of Rashford. I feel like the team should be built around Rashford and not Rashford trying to fit into the team and the system. I just think Rashford's that good. And I feel like if they want Rashford to play like that, he has to evolve to the next level and be a better playmaker. Right now, he doesn't have that string in his repertoire. So let's see how that evolves. I feel like Rashford is definitely a sell because he's not 9.0, and I think there are better midfielders at cheaper prices in FPL this season. Moving on to Fernandes. Again, both United mids were just really disappointing. Like that game was a tough watch, and I don't think I want two of these guys on my wildcard. Like there's no way I have both of these guys. I don't even know if I want either of them, to be honest with you. And lastly, moving on to my strikers, Alvarez is just solid. Been so consistent ever since I brought him in. And when you compare Alvarez, you got to compare him to Solanke. Compare him to Awoniyi. This guy is like 50% better than those guys, 100%. In fact, he could even be better than Watkins, better than Darwin. Like if you factor in set pieces from corners, free kicks, and he's just nailed in the team. Like he just genuinely nailed. Like it's hard to really replace him. He's so direct, and they don't have that KDB threat. They don't have that Gundogan threat. Like Alvarez is a really strong FPL pick. And Haaland, this was supposed to be my last dance with you, brother. Hey man, what you doing, man? I really expected some goals from you, Erling, but bruh, a blank. I really hope you continue to blank because I am sick of having Haaland in my team. I feel like FPL, like you have to take on the risk. Sometimes you have to risk it to get the biscuit, And I feel like it's just time to wildcard. Like I'm just tired of so many things, like Ballman injury, Estupiñán injury, and Mbeumo not doing enough, Rashford not doing enough. I think Haaland's good fixtures are gone. I think I want to sell him and move him on to get the king. Like I need the king in my team. He's been so consistent over the past 13 weeks, dating back to last season, and I need him for captaincy as well. So let's just discuss what are the reasons that I am wildcarding. The number one reason is I want to win FPL, baby. Like I'm not scared about effective ownership. I know Haaland is 92% owned, and I feel like the best way to win is just to take on the risk. You got to risk it to get the biscuit at the end of the day. But if you're scared of effective ownership, like Haaland can absolutely kill you. Like 2 goals are going to take your rank from 100K to 1 million. Like that's how high his effective ownership is going to be. But I think the best way to win it is to take on that 92% effective ownership and to try to outscore him. You may not be able to do it with one player, but I feel like he just has some really tough fixtures coming up. I actually went into an in-depth analysis in my previous video about why I actually am looking to sell Erling Haaland. So if you're looking for reasons about why I'm making this decision, just go back into my previous video and go give that a watch. I feel like to summarize it in like one sentence, I just don't think he's a big game player. And I think this is where I'm going to mess around and I'm going to find out. Either he's going to prove me wrong and I'm going to get absolutely smashed, or I could potentially go on to actually win FPL. That's like one of the factors that I'm making this decision. And also, if you're selling Haaland, it's easier if you're wildcarding because then you're just able to spread the funds and you're able to like move funds quickly and efficiently. Because if I didn't have a wildcard, I'd have to take some hits in order to get to the funds in different areas of the team and upgrade it all. But if I'm on wildcard, I can just do it all in one foul swoop and I don't have to take any hits. Secondly, when I think about the defenders, okay. I can do it in one foul swoop. The second factor that's convincing me to wildcard is I feel like the best defenders in the game have presented themselves already. I think Matty Cash, Estupiñán and Trippier are the best defenders in the game, specifically Cash and Estupiñán from a value perspective, but I just think Trippier is essential. One of the best defenders in the game, one of the best defenses. You can definitely trust Newcastle, and they already had some of their tough fixtures already passed, so I just think if you're wildcarding, whether you're wildcarding Game Week 8, Game Week 10, Game Week 15, Game Week 19, you're going to have Trippier, Cash, and Estupiñán. And the final reason that I feel like I'm wildcarding is I believe that you can kind of break FPL up into 4 different phases. In the first phase, we had Team Haaland, where it's like you just have Haaland as your only premium and you attack the first 7 fixtures just like that. In phase 2, I feel like we're in the Team Salah phase, where it's like I think you can drop Haaland because Haaland has Arsenal, United, Liverpool, Spurs, Aston Villa. I don't think he's going to be the number 1 captain option in most of these weeks. And because of that, I think I'd rather just have my money spread across, having a great midfield, a great defense, having a balanced team, instead of having to like sacrifice and bring in these 6.5 mids and 4.5 defenders that I have to rely on week in and week out. And so I feel like in phase 2, I'm going to be going with just Salah. And then once I hit game week 16, I think I want to transition from just Salah to just Haaland. And I'm going to sell Salah to get Haaland back into my team because he is like the best player in the league. And I just feel like the fixtures from 16, they get more difficult for Liverpool as well. They end up playing Manchester United, Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Arsenal again. And on top of that, Salah actually has to go to AFCON, so he's going to miss the Game Week 21, Game Week 22, and 23 fixtures. So if you just sell Salah around like Game Week 16, 15, maybe 14, you can just not worry about Salah. So even if he's going away to AFCON, you don't have to worry about it. That's going to be somebody else's problem. And in the last phase of the season, I think this is where you want to have both Salah and Haaland. Like the fixtures are just so good. And at this point, hopefully your team value has gone up. Like you start at 100 million. But if you get your team value to like 103, 104 million by this time, you'll have enough value so that way you don't have to rely on 6.0 midfielders or 4.5 defenders. You'll be able to rely on maybe 7.5 mids or 5.5 defenders. And so that's kind of why it's like I am leaning towards this from a macro perspective. I think I'm going to go for Team Salah and I'm going to transition to Team Haaland and hopefully use my wildcard later in the season to get to both Salah plus Haaland for the last couple of weeks of the season. And if you're going to bet against Haaland, it's really important that you have captaincy nailed down because captaincy is the most important factor. And when I'm looking at it from my perspective, I'm no longer going to have Haaland in my team. So I guess the captaincy matrix looks more so something like this. And if you look at the box, the player on the top of the box has the better fixture and the person that I'm more likely to captain, just given all factors being the same. The problem is that in this week specifically, Son, there's an issue with him. Like I think he's a great asset, but he is injured. He's carrying a knock. He's not playing the full 90 minutes. So the question I ask myself is, Luton is a worse team than Brighton. Defensively, they're both not that great, but Luton is worse. So Son has the better fixture. But is 60 minutes of Son better than 90 minutes of Mo Salah? Because I'm assuming both of them are going to be on penalties, but I don't know if Spurs can really break down a low block. So there is things to really factor in, but I do feel like this is a money fixture for Son. I think not captaining Son is a mistake, but I just don't know because like what if there's a scenario that like Spurs just can't break them down and then Son subbed off with a blank. Like I'm not saying it's likely, I'm just saying it's a possibility. And I feel like when I think of this Liverpool-Brighton game, I can just see goals in it. Like I just feel like there's going to be lots of goals, going to be back and forth. I think Liverpool are going to absolutely destroy them. I think Salah's going to have lots of space in behind Brighton's high line and think this is just a solid fixture. I really just believe Liverpool are different this year. Like last year, Brighton went out there and beat Liverpool. I think even at home, they made us look terrible, but this year's different. Our midfield is just way better than where it was last season. And I think Salah is definitely going to be on the radar. I'm not 100% confirmed on who I'm captaining. Like, I'm very 50-50. I can sway my decision based on any information that comes in. I'm just happy to see that Son was in training. So I'm really 50-50. I'd say 51% on Son right now, but let's see how things evolve over the course of the week. The next thing I wanted to mention is that because I'm bringing Salah on my team, so which mids am I going to get rid of? I think it's pretty obvious. Getting rid of Rashford feels like the right play. He's being really passive. He's not being direct. I feel like there is some instruction for him to like try to get Haaland involved in the team. I'm not sure if that's the best for Rashford or for the team. I feel like the team needs to be built around Rashford. Like Rashford is so good. He has the ability to be the best player in the league, but I don't know. Like he's just not playing well. His decision making has been questionable. I know in Champions League he got the assist, but he also had like a really great chance on a one-on-one, but he just made the wrong decision. And I don't know if I really rate Rashford right now. I know the fixtures are great, so sometimes it's like fixtures over form, right? Because they'll play themselves into form, but I don't know if I really want Rashford anymore because, he's expensive. Last year it was different. He's at 6.5 or 7.0. And so if he's not playing that great, it's okay because he's not that expensive. Now he's at 9.0. Expectations are high, bro. I can't just hold on to an asset if they're not returning. So to me, it's easy. Rashford's the sell. Bruno's the key because Bruno is cheaper. He's a 90-minute man. He's an Iron Man. He plays all the minutes. He has really strong expected goal involvement, and he's also on penalties on top of that. And I think at the end of the day, his effective ownership is so low. Like I think Rashford's ownership is at around 20%. Bruno's around 20%. Just owning one of them is going to be good enough in terms of coverage that if United go out there and score like 4 or 5 goals, I'm sure they're both going to get involved at some point. So maybe it won't be the biggest green arrow, but I'm still going to get a green arrow because they're not really well owned in the top 100K right now. So I am thinking to be staying patient with Bruno and just getting rid of Rashford. Like I think I'm kind of done with that. Next, I feel like I want to just discuss my keeper rotation. Last year, we also had two 4.0s that were potentially options at Leicester, but this year, it's different. I think Turner's a really solid option if he can keep his place. Nottingham Forest are in the top half for expected goals conceded, and I think West Ham are a really solid defense as well. Like, whenever I think about West Ham, I feel like people and teams will struggle against West Ham. It's hard to break them down because sometimes they'll just sit so deep. The problem with West Ham is that they're in Europa League, so maybe the rotation will make it more difficult for them to find defensive consistency. But I just feel like David Moyes is pretty predictable. Areola is going to get all the games in the Premier League. Fabianski is going to get all the Europa League games. So I'm not worried about a rotation risk. I'm more just worried about if it's worth taking all the money out of my keepers. And I'm thinking about it like, I don't know, like just in general, in seasons past, I find it so difficult to like pick the right keeper. And I always find myself saying at the end of the season, like, hey, I should have just picked a 4.5 keeper and just forget about it. Because like you can't really predict keeper returns. Like that's the thing when you have a keeper rotation is like sometimes you're gonna bench somebody that has like a lot of points because you can't really predict football sometimes. Like you can get a clean sheet in a fixture where you're not expecting that to happen, and that goalkeeper can pick up like 10 saves, a bunch of bonus points. Like that can happen. But the way I'm looking at this is I just want to attack this from an on-book type of perspective where in Game Week 8 and Game Week 9, I would play Turner. I know Game Week 8 seems a little bit tougher with Crystal Palace, but Ebriche Eze's picked up an injury, Elise's out, Edouard is out. Like that could be a really solid fixture for Nottingham Forest to actually potentially pick up a win maybe. And then also the next week is Luton at home. Like that's the best fixture on the calendar. Then I would rotate towards Areola. And I tried my best whenever there's a 50-50 decision to just go with Areola because I just trust David Moyes to be a stubborn, defensive, pragmatic manager, So playing Everton at home, then Brentford away, then Nottingham Forest at home, Burnley away. And 14, I think I might go back to Turner for maybe the Everton at home fixture. But because I trust Areola, I think I'd probably lean towards that Crystal Palace at home in Game Week 14. In Week 15, I'd go back for that Fulham away fixture with Turner. And then in Game Week 16, I'd go for Areola with the Fulham away fixture. And then in 17, I would go for Areola again with Wolves at home. In 18, I'd go for the Bournemouth at home fixture. In 19, I probably would go for the Newcastle away fixture, but I'm not sure. In Game Week 20, 21, and 22, it's like pretty solid for Areola. Like what I'm trying to show you is that they're not incredible fixtures. They're not playing like all the worst teams in the league, but they're not horrible either. And I think at 4.0, like I'm not expecting these guys to pick up hauls. I'm just expecting them to like tick along and just pick up some points along the way because I don't think I'm getting green arrows from you guys, but I'm just hoping that you give me enough points where I can get most of my green arrows from where I want my money, which is going to be in the midfield, Before I release my final wildcard draft, I really just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the support. My last video, the views were absolutely insane. Going to like 600 views. Like I wouldn't have dreamed of that when the season started. Honestly, like I went from 40 subscribers to 60 subscribers in one day. Like it was mad. Like thank you so much for all your support. And I know like my content isn't going to be as great as other people that are, have been doing this consistently and they have like better following and, their graphics are going to be better. They're going to have like a theme song that's going to keep you interested. Like I don't have that stuff yet. But what I do know is I know ball and I know football because I watch it, I play it, and I live for the Premier League, man. So I'd love to like create content for you guys, and by you guys just liking the video and commenting on the video, it just motivates me and encourages me to continue doing this and putting in the hours and grinding and trying to become a better version of myself in terms of just creating content for you guys. So thank you for your support, and this was like the biggest motivation for me to just continue providing value to you. So this is it, boys. This is the moment you've been waiting for. This is my wildcard draft. I have 0.6 in the bank, and I am team no Haaland. Bro, I genuinely don't think Haaland's going to do that well, but I don't know why. People are scared to get rid of him, and I can understand it because, he's been averaging so many points, 8 points per match every single week. You can just captain him blindly and not worry about it, but I feel like this team is just so well balanced. Let's start off with my defenders. Trippier and Cash are just nailed, I think, in any wildcard, whether you wildcard in Gameweek 6, 8, 15. Those guys are really solid. The player that I am missing defensively is Estupinian. Estupinian plays Manchester City and then plays Liverpool. So he has 2 tough games, and then he has this really good fixture run from Gameweek 10 all the way till Gameweek 28. So during those fixtures, that's when I really want to get onto Estupinian. The fact he has an injury, I feel like what I will do is I sold him because I think he's going to go down in price. I feel like I've already gotten enough value from him. I bought him at 5.0 and I'm selling him at 5.3. So I gained a 0.1 worth of value. And I think by the time I look to buy him back, I think most people are going to be looking to sell him. People on Wildcard are selling him. I think when you have somebody like a Superman in your team, I feel like there aren't that many good defenders. It's like when people are trying to build a team of Salah plus Haaland, they struggle to carry players that are injured because they don't have much depth. So I just find that a lot of people are going to be selling a Estupinian, and I wouldn't be surprised if I tried to buy him back and he'd end up at maybe 5.0 by the time we're looking at him. For now, the stopgap is just going to be Destiny Udogie. He has really solid fixtures, Luton and Fulham, and after that, he probably just never gets a game for me because I don't really trust Spurs defensively as much as I trust Virgil at Liverpool and I trust Ben White at Arsenal. It's tough. Like, genuinely, if I'm going to be going against Haaland, the one player I really want is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, that's my guy, bro. That's my favorite player in the league. I've been the biggest fan of Trent. Like, I went all the way to Liverpool. I didn't pick up a Mo Salah jersey. I picked up a Trent jersey. Like, that's my guy, but he's just so overpriced this year. Like, I genuinely had such a difficult time trying to fit him in. Like, if I take money out of my team, it's like I had to get rid of Bruno Fernandes and then go down. But then I just wanted to be able to have enough money to go up to Saka. I feel like that's one of the players I am missing. So when I compare myself to people that are going to wildcard in Game Week 10, or they're going to have like maybe a Matoma, maybe a Bowen, and they're going to have Saka, maybe an Odegaard if Saka is out for a little while. So I feel like I just want to be able to move quickly from Fernandes onto somebody like Saka or Odegaard or Matoma. So that's the reason why I haven't decided to upgrade Virgil. Even though I do have 0.6 in the bank, I could go from Virgil to Robertson, but I just think having the 0.6 in the bank is more valuable than the difference of points that Robertson's going to provide me over Virgil. And I think Liverpool defense is really slept on this year. Their defense has been really solid, and you got to think about it this way. Even from an attacking perspective, you got to keep this in mind. Liverpool have spent 25% of their season with a man down. So if you think about it, they're going to score 25% more goals. They're going to keep 25% less expected goals conceded. So they're going to keep more clean sheets. And at the end of the day, you have the best goalkeeper in the world protecting you. You have Alisson Becker. Like, he is insane. And I think whenever people talk about Virgil, they're saying, oh, he's past his prime. But then you look at what players in the league are saying. You see KDB in his interview, William Saliba, when they talk about the best defenders in the league, Virgil van Dijk is always in the conversation of the top 3. And I just think Van Dijk can be a value asset. I know it sounds mad, but he has the ability to have a 180-point season. Just has to pick up some goals along the way and some clean sheets along the way. And I think if I'm going to get rid of Haaland, if there's a team I really want to be tripled up on, it's Liverpool, because I trust them. I'm a fan of them, and I feel like Virgil's completely nailed, will never miss a single game in the league. And I move on from Virgil and I get to Ben White. Arteta is so untrustworthy. I genuinely don't know if Gabriel is nailed. And I know for sure Zinchenko is injury prone. Like, he's the best option for them, but he's not going to play every single game. So when he doesn't play, is Gabriel going to play? I don't know. Like, I like Gabriel's price point at 4.7, and I would love to have done that and save the money and then moved up Virgil to Robertson and then had extra money that I could make the move to go from Fernandes to Saka. But I just don't trust Arteta. And I think when I think about Arsenal defense, I think Saliba and Ben White are the only players that I can trust. And obviously David Raya, but I don't know if I really want to go there. I just think I don't want to spend that much money in my keepers, genuinely, from a theoretical, macro perspective. So I think going with somebody like Ben White, it's a luxury player. But if I need the money, then I could just get rid of somebody like Ben White later on. But I just think as a long-term asset, you can't really go wrong with Arsenal defense. They're genuinely solid, top 3 in terms of the defensive statistics, and Ben White's nailed. And he also has these overlapping runs where Saka will be cutting in onto his left foot and Ben White will be overlapping. He scored a goal from a free kick, and I'm sure he'll pick up some assists along the way this season. I've never been the biggest fan of Ben White, but I just feel like he's the best option in Arsenal's team right now if you're looking at it from a defensive perspective. Moving on to my mids, Madison and Son are just really nailed in the wild card because they just have two really easy fixtures. Right now, I do have the captaincy on Son. I feel like it's a 50-50 decision, and genuinely, like, it just depends on my mood. Right now, I could say I'm leaning Son, but like tomorrow I could genuinely captain Mo. I think in the back of my mind I have Liverpool bias and I really want to captain Mo Salah because I just feel like there's going to be goals in that game, and if we hear some good news again that Son is going to be starting because I think it's the early kickoff, it'll be hard for me to not go with Son, I think, because Luton are just that bad. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get team news and we don't get a lineup leak. There's a chance I might just captain Mo Salah. Like, genuinely, I just feel like Liverpool attack is just so solid. And when I think about Salah from an FPL asset perspective, he doesn't have as high goal threat as he has in previous seasons, but he's making up for that by having enough creativity. And on top of that, it raises his baseline bonus. So whenever he gets a goal or an assist, he's going to get bonus points on top of that. So it just makes him such a great asset. He's not going to be scoring as many goals, but in terms of getting as many FPL points, I think he's just as good as he was in previous seasons, even though he has less goal threat. And, because he's creating more for the team, it just benefits the players in the rest of the team for scoring goals. And I think when you look at somebody like Luis Diaz, his XGI of 0.61, it's heavily weighted towards XG because he's getting chances created for him. And the thing is, Liverpool have such good fixtures. It's Everton, Nottingham Forest, Luton, Fulham, Sheffield. Like, in these games, Liverpool are going to go out there and score 3 or 4 goals easily. And it's kind of like buying a ticket to the lottery with FPL, where it's like, you don't know who's nailed, but it's like you kind of want to go for the players that have the most expected minutes. And I'm thinking about it like, when I look at the first couple games this season, I'm seeing Luis Diaz benched in Europa League. I'm seeing that Luis Diaz is starting 6 out of the 7 games in the Premier League. The only game he was benched was the first game after international break, and Liverpool had the early kickoff. So it kind of just makes sense. Like, to me, I just feel like when I think about Liverpool's front three, it's Diaz on the left, Salah on the right, and up top, I have no idea. Like, whoever tickles your pickle, like whoever Klopp wants to go with. And I just feel like if I'm going to go in this fixture run, I'm going to wild card, I'm selling Haaland. Again, I want to be tripled up on Liverpool, and the two players that I do trust in that attack to start and get most of the minutes, it's going to be Salah and Diaz. And lastly, I have Fernandes. I just think Fernandes is so creative. He had the most chances created last season, a really underrated pick. I genuinely felt like he was underpriced this season. When the season started, I felt like Fernandes at 8.5, underpriced. I think he's a 10.0 value asset, and wouldn't surprise me if he turns the season around. Again, he's created like so many opportunities. I think his XA is like 3.0 when he only has 1 assist. Just shows you that he's underperforming his expected statistics as he did last season, and I'm just hoping that things turn around. Like, Haaland has really impressed me. He's very direct. Like, he's very strong, he's quick, and I feel like if Fernandes is creating more chances for people like Haaland and Rashford than he is for like something like Martial and Anthony, I feel like he's just going to be getting more assists because he's just that great. So at the end of the day, like, he's on pens and the fixtures are just so great. So Fernandes is staying in my team for now, but he's definitely going to be moved out after the fixtures are done. And lastly, up top, there's no Erling Haaland, but that's cool with me. I'm going to be going with somebody that covers him, and I think Alvarez is just insane. I think going without Alvarez on wildcard that's just blasphemy. Like, genuinely, he's like one of the best FPL assets in the entire game. Plays for Man City. He's going to be starting every single game on the corners, on the free kicks. He's mad. If he was on the penalties, it would be insane, but obviously that's for Erling Haaland, man. You can't have everything, right? And lastly, we've got Ollie Watkins. At 8.0, I know he's not cheap, but I just think he's really solid. Like, when you think about Ollie Watkins, like, even last season, he was just so consistent. I just feel like he's the budget Harry Kane. The only difference is he doesn't have penalties, but Watkins, I think, he only scored 1 penalty goal last year, and I think he had 180 points in FPL last year. So if he only scored 1 pen, like, he's not really losing out on much by not having the penalties. And I think Watkins is just so consistent. Like, the fixtures are great, and so I just feel like he's going to take over. So I'm feeling really solid with my 2 strikers. I can see myself holding them for a really long time. I think I can see myself holding Son and Salah for a long time as well. I think when the fixtures turn in game week 10, that's when I have to decide if I'm going to sell Maddison or if I'm going to sell Diaz or Fernandes in order to get to somebody like Mitoma or somebody like Saka or Odegaard long term. But I'm really set with my defenders. I'm really set with my strikers, and I'm going to be spending my transfers in the midfield. This is exactly what the position that I wanted to find myself in, and so again, I'm feeling really set on this wildcard. I don't think much is going to change it, but the only thing that may change is going to be my captaincy decision. So let's see how that plays out on the deadline, but I'm so excited for what this is going to do. I know I had a big red arrow this week, but it's going to be crazy. Like the next like 6 to 7 games are going to be huge in terms of variance. Like selling Haaland is a really high risk, high reward play, but you got to play FPL your way. Like always remember, like, you can't look at somebody else's team and be like, oh, like I think that's a really good way to do it. Like that's a good pick. Like you can't follow somebody else's picks. Like you need to make your own picks of the players that you've like, and that way if they fail or if they do well, it's like at least you're gonna live with the result and you'll be happy with it because you did it your way. And that's it. That's all I'm gonna say. I think the way I see FPL is I don't think Haaland's essential, and I think let's see what's gonna happen. So thank you so much. If you listen to this point in the video, I just want to say thank you so much for your support. If you could drop a like and a comment, it'd mean the world to me, and I'll see you guys again soon. Peace.